Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Sunday Sideline Report here on the Sports Insanity Network. This is my official return from a 5-week absence from surgery. My neck is better. The Cowboys are winning. Things could not be happier. We have a lot to talk about today here on the Sports Insanity Network, and we're going to kick it right off to the pun master to get us going. Mike, what do we have on tap for today?
We got a lot to talk about, Mister. Have you back? We'll talk about the Thursday games. We got some injury news. We got a benching in New York, and we're not even talking about the Knicks. But let's just kick it off. We'll start with the Thanksgiving games because we had 3 of them on Thursday. We hope everyone had a happy Thanksgiving, unless you are a turkey, and then in that case you were probably eaten, but we'll digress. Let's start with the first game on Thursday, which saw the Bills beat the Lions by a score 28-25. Josh Allen 24-42, 253 yards, 2 touchdowns, and interception. Also had a rushing touchdown. Jared Goff in defeat, 23 of 37, 240 yards, 2 touchdowns. And Von Miller went down for the Bills, out indefinitely. They have not given a timeline or what the injury really is. They have just said he has not torn his ACL mark.
That is correct. There is no physical tear in the knee. However, from rumor sources, mind you, take it at face value because of the word, it is a highly sprained MCL, which could keep him out the rest of the regular season.
Well, which for the Bills, it's pretty big because they've gone all in Super Bowl, basically. That's the expectation. They moved to 8-3 on the season. But I don't know what it is about the Bills recently. I'm going to get the whole city of Buffalo to hate me, which is fine.
Including Mojo.
That's usual, though. I could just text him random crap on the Sabres, and that's a nothing burger. But really, the Bills over the last couple of weeks, this is not the team they were that started the year. And I know injuries have played a part in that, but when we go forward into the deep stretch of the season, I don't know what it is. There's something not clicking. I don't know if this is just a blip or if this is a long-term rest of the season thing.
The Buffalo Bills, as we talked about at the beginning of the season, and I don't think there weren't one of us who said they were one of the favorites to be in the Super Bowl for the AFC. But Mike's right. They did win, but they had to do it the same way Mahomes did it to them. Last 2 minutes back and forth. As exciting as that was, if I'm a Bills fan, I would have been pissed that it went that way.
Yeah, there's something there. Josh Allen hasn't looked right. Bills fans, I'll take the heat since I have him as a fantasy quarterback. It is my fault. This stuff always happens. but he hasn't looked right. At times, Gabe Davis has been great. At times, he hasn't been. I don't know if Odell Beckham solves everything. We could talk about that in a little bit, but I don't know. There's something just not clicking there with the Bills. Flip side it to the Lions. I know the record is not good. It's 4-7, but you could tell the Detroit Lions are actually building something. Dan Campbell and his biting of kneecaps, they're not there yet, but they are slowly but surely taking steps on getting better. They have pieces, DeAndre Swift, Amon-Ra St. Brown. The offensive line is really good. Defensively, Aiden Hutchinson's played pretty well. Okuda, when healthy, has played well. These high picks that they've had are starting to pan out. If they can get, I don't want to say a real quarterback because I don't want to insult Jared Goff, but if they can get their long-term answer at quarterback, who knows how good the Lions can be.
The Lions record really, like you said, Mike, doesn't speak of what they've become. I cover the Lions for the Blitzers, and even at the beginning of the season, I was a naysayer saying they're not there. They really didn't do enough. But when you've watched this team play, they've been in every game they've played in except one against Dallas where they got blown out. And not by much. We're talking
But they were in that
points
until halftime.
Right. This Lions team is not going to be fully there next year, but in 2 years, I say the Lions are in the playoffs or make the wild card next year. And then after that, I'd look out because I think more free agents that have been avoiding the black hole that is the Lions, the Jets, and teams that have not been producing well are going to start going in reverse and really start attracting those big names because you have a very good number one in Jared Goff right there.
Yeah, and they're going to keep building through the draft because they have the picks from the Rams after the Stafford deal. They got other draft picks. If they just draft right, bring in some free agents, they're not as far away as you might think they were. Not more than 2 years after trading away their franchise quarterback. So the Bills beat the Lions. They moved to 8-3. They'll play the Patriots on Thursday night. The Lions next week will take on the Jacksonville Jaguars, in which should be a jungle burner.
It actually is going to be a good game, I think.
Yeah, it's a very interesting game, too.
Mm-hmm.
All right. The second game of the triple header on Thanksgiving saw the Mark's beloved Dallas Cowboys beat the New York Giants by a score of 28-20. Dak Prescott, 21 of 30, 261 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. Zeke, 16 carries, 92 yards, and a touchdown. CeeDee Lamb, 6 catches for 106 yards. For the Giants, Daniel Jones, 21 of 35, 220 yards and a touchdown. Saquon Barkley, 39 yards and a touchdown. Darius Slayton, 3 catches, 63 yards. The Cowboys moved to 8-3. The Giants to 7-4. I'm going to say this quickly on the Giants, and then you could take it however you want with the Cowboys. I think the injuries on the Giants side is starting to catch up to them. When you're talking receivers, the offensive line was banged up coming into this game. The defense was a little banged up. And for them to keep this game as competitive as they did, and the Cowboys couldn't cover the spread, thanks a lot. But, but I think those injuries are starting to catch up to the Giants just a little bit.
Watching, Dallas Cowboy fan number one here, along with a couple other members in this group, but I still got the age on them, so I'm number one fan. I was very excited about this Thanksgiving Day game because the Giants actually can put up have a team. I'm not going to say they don't have a good defense, but of course my sights were blowout, and it's going to be the first half of the game. The Giants' offensive second team line did a hell of a job, and the Giants' defense did a great job in the first half. Dallas kept it balanced, mixed it up, Yes, Dak Prescott threw 2 picks, but one of them was on a busted play. Doesn't matter. And it was a nice interception. And the other one sailed on him. Okay. Doesn't matter. What you have to look at for Dallas is that the game plan that they went out with, and I've been talking with a few people, was a game plan to try to attract somebody, and we'll be getting to him later, to show they are committed to the pass. And when they saw that they can't go that way, they went back to the ground and pound with Tony Pollard and Zeke Elliott, who had his best game of the year. And frankly, ever since he's come in since 2016, he's always been very strong against the Giants. Tony Pollard didn't have a bad game, but had a little bit more of a quieter game over the last few weeks. CeeDee Lamb, proving to be the number one. Michael Gallup with some huge first down catches in that game. And it was really an offensive-minded game for Dallas as what they were doing. We look at the defense. Micah Parsons just is a beast. Another 2 sacks on the day, putting him in the leading. And could he break Strahan's number? It's a possibility. There's plenty of time left. He's very close. There hasn't been a player like Micah Parsons since Lawrence Taylor. And it's good to see that a defensive-minded player. But the Dallas defense in the first half wasn't as dominant as they were in the second half. They were much stronger in the second half. The first half, I just don't think there was a feeling of what was going on. But Dallas is 8-3. The Giants dropped to 7-4. And Dallas' next tough game is not until the Eagles on Christmas Eve. Dallas goes up against the Indianapolis Colts Sunday night. They're going to have the same problem. They're going to have a hard time stopping Jonathan Taylor, but there is not really a good crop of receivers in Indianapolis. So the secondary is going to thrive. Dallas will win that game. But we also had a third game, Mike.
Well, to your point really quickly, the Cowboys will play the Colts next week. Then they play the Texans and the Jaguars before they play the Eagles Christmas Eve. And then they'll play the Tennessee Titans 5 days later. So before ending the year against the Washington Commanders. So there's for the Cowboys. The one thing I'll say before we get into the last game, the one thing that worries me on the Dallas Cowboys, they take too many penalties.
Mm-hmm. I don't disagree there.
They take way too many penalties. So I think the numbers from Thursday were 13 for 86 penalties in yards. So that's the one thing I think that holds them back. But you're right. We had a third game, which saw primetime Kirk Cousins ball out as the Vikings beat the Patriots 33-26. Cousins 30 of 37, 299 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a pick.
Something he's always good for.
Justin Jefferson, who might just be the best receiver in football currently. 9 receptions, 139 yards, and a touchdown. For New England, Mac Jones, 28 of 39, 382, and 2 touchdowns. The Vikings moved to 9-2. The Patriots moved to 6-5. From the Minnesota standpoint, they needed this game just to right what last week was against the Cowboys. And you know what? The offense has played outside of last week. The offense was playing really well. It's the other side of the ball that I'm a little bit concerned about. Because giving up 26 points to a New England Patriots team that couldn't score offensively last week against the Jets, punt returners, but to give up 26, and Mac played really well, and that's fine. But I think that's the thing. Like, Dallas, I question the penalties a little bit. Minnesota's got to write this thing a little bit defensively because giving up 40 and 20 is 66 points their last two games. It's not a recipe that you want to be playing with.
Hats off to Mac Jones on almost 400 yards passing. Ramondre Stevenson, 9 receptions. But Mike's right. This is not the same New England team as it was last year. Is it because game plans are being figured out for Mac Jones, considering how well he did? You can call it whatever you want. I think this is Bill Belichick's worst season in New England, in my opinion. And I think he'll right the ship next year because they need to really do free agent or trade hunting first. Yes, the draft is very important, but they need a number one wide receiver. That's what they're missing. Nelson Agholor and Devontae Parker are not going to do it. And I think there are going to be some good names out there. And just the Patriots name alone will sell it on that front. So, we'll see what happens with the Patriots moving forward.
I think that's a conversation we've had really since Randy Moss left. Like, they don't have a number one, and they don't usually go out of their way and spend money. Now, this past offseason, the last offseason, they spent money on Kendrick Bourne and Nelson Agholor and Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith at tight end. By the way, that was a catch by Hunter Henry. NFL, you need to start learning what a catch is. That's a whole nother conversation. This offseason, they go out and they trade for Devontae Parker, who I can tell you as a Dolphin fan, when he plays, he's okay, but he's not the player he was maybe 3-4 years ago where he had that really high upside. They don't have a one. They're very reliant on the run game. And they've got Joe Judge and Matt Patricia calling plays. And those are two guys. One was a special teams coach, and the other one was the defensive coordinator. Now, all of a sudden, they know how to call offensive plays. It's very weird what's going on in New England. But they're 6-5, and they play the Bills next week. And they may be looking for a little bit of redemption after last year's wild card game where the Bills scored on every single possession. But that's Bills Patriots. The Vikings will also be in the AFC East next week. They'll take on the New York Jets. Speaking of the New York Jets, shout out Danny Boy Reginald. Zach Wilson is going to be like Wilson from Home Improvement today. You will not see his face. He has been benched after his performance last week against the Patriots and his post-game comments afterwards.
Wow.
Mike White gets the start, and Broadway Joe Flacco is the backup quarterback for the New York Jets this week.
Looking at, you open up your window in New York and you don't know what's about to happen. There is about to be a very, very bad weather system coming into this area at around 11:30, 12 o'clock, and it's going to hang around the Northeast pretty much all day. Zach Wilson being benched, as a lot of people are saying, it's in preparation for the weather. No. Zach Wilson was atrocious last week. And
2 yards of total offense second half.
And you can't win football games like that, or put your defense on the line here and say, look, you guys got to do it. We can't. It's not the right move. So what does the Jets do? Like Mike said, they have benched Zach Wilson, but they're calling it a time to let him get his mind back in order. We've seen this with rookie quarterbacks, and yes, even though this is his second year, we've seen this before. They have to get the fact that they are in the record they're in and play like that, not the fact, oh, yeah, I'm the one who's talked about. Don't turn into a prima donna, Zach. Go out and play the game. The Jets team at the beginning of the season was a lot to talk about. Injuries have been a lot of problems. But I think this was the right move to sit him down, let him get his head clear, let Mike White come in and get some receptions. God forbid, anything happens and Flacco has to come in. And just move the ball and get the win today is what the Jets need to focus on. But yes, Mike White starting has to send a message, clear and simple. That is what it is.
I think a couple of things. I think the first thing is when you go into that post-game press conference after the game, it's right after the game because he was still in the uniform. And let's be fair, the New York media at times can be very hard on certain people. This was a layup for Zach Wilson when he was asked, did you let your defense down last week? And he goes, no. You lost 10-3. Your defense gave up 3 points, and you found a way to lose that game. Who else is it on? Unfortunately for you, we live in a era where quarterbacks are going to get the brunt of a lot of pressure. Take a guy we talked about before, Josh Allen. When the Bills think it's on me, I suck. It's not us, it's I. I suck right now. I'm hurting the team. Dak Prescott. It's not the team, it's I. I suck. And I'm not comparing Zach Wilson to those two guys because that's not fair. Josh Allen's a top 5 quarterback. Dak's probably in the top 10. But it's just responsibility matters. Your words, the actions have consequences. And this is the consequence you get for not saying what you said. But the other part is, I think if you would ask any Jet fan coming into week 11 or wherever we are, would you have a winning record? I think the bulk of them would sign up for whatever it is, 6-4, 6-5. Let me just double check. But 6-4 coming into today. So that if you're the guy holding them back, which it kind of seems like you've been the guy holding them back, this is a no-brainer. But I think the other part of this is, and we can talk about this side now, we didn't even know this until earlier. Justin Fields is not going to play today, but he was coming into town. He's been playing lights out football, and you are in the same draft class as him. So people were going to say all week, should the Jets have taken Justin Fields instead of Zach Wilson, and that whole drama. So the Jets said, or Robert Saleh, I guess, said, no, not going to deal with it. You're not playing. You're not even dressing today. See you later.
Yeah, for Justin Fields, it has to do with his throwing shoulder that was slammed into the ground last week. And this is the right move by the Chicago Bears here. Going in, as I said, they're coming into New York with one of the worst weather fronts we've seen this year so far. It's going to be rainy. It's going to be cold. And you don't want to take any chances in losing him for the rest of the season. You want him to get as much as he can possible and not to lose his confidence. So sitting him today brings Trevor Siemian back onto the field again. The journeyman himself will start for Chicago today. I do not expect a lot of scoring today in that game.
I would expect a defensive battle, both teams. But yeah, Trevor Siemian, the former Jet, will get the start today for the Bears in place of Justin Fields. And you're right. This is about thinking about your long-term future. And Justin Fields, the past, I'll say 6 weeks, has played really well. The Bears this off season, I am begging and I am pleading with the Bears. Just get them weapons. Let's go. You got
That's
Komet, you got Mooney. Let's get them some other receivers. Claypool will be there next year as well. Let's see what else
what
we can get them.
you. I look at the two quarterbacks. If you look at Zach Wilson and Justin Fields, they're pretty similar in the way they play. But I think Justin Fields has the little bit of edge because he's the better rollout passer. And if he's rolling out and gets stuck, he can take off. But watching him throw on the run has been really nice. Mind you, they're not for 70, 80-yard passes. They're 7 and 8-yard passes. But that's all you need to do if you want to move the ball.
And the one thing I'll say, I've said this before on Zach Wilson, now I'll keep saying, the Jets have done more for Zach Wilson in a year and a half than they ever did for Sam Darnold. Flip side it, a lot of people question what the Bears were doing when it came to Justin Fields' development coming into the season, and he's grown exponentially bigger, and he's played really well. So that is a interesting game at MetLife this afternoon. Also this week, we got news of a release in Denver. No, Nathaniel Hackett is still around. Russell Wilson could still say Broncos country, let's ride. Melvin Gordon was released after fumbling again last week. I think he leads the league in fumbles, but Melvin Gordon released. Really doesn't matter. The Broncos aren't going anywhere this year anyway.
Right. And they have a backup. They have a very capable number 2 running back who will now be the one. And Williams, he'll do fine. Javonte Williams will have a decent game.
And Latavius Murray's still there. Latavius Murray's there. I believe Williams is still hurt. I think he's done for the year. But going into next year, you'll have Williams, and you can either keep Murray or you could draft a backup. That's fine. But Melvin Gordon out in Denver.
Melvin Gordon coming. Sorry, Mike, I cut you off.
I don't think that's the only change coming in Denver.
Don't. I mean, when you look at what Denver did, we all had eyes wide open. Russell Wilson was going to take Denver, especially with Courtland Sutton. You had Melvin Gordon, you had Williams, you had Jerry Jeudy. Yeah. I mean, this was a team that was built to win. And from the first game, it looked like the black cape of death was put over Mile High Stadium because Russell Wilson has been a shadow of himself. And Denver has just been trying to climb out of quicksand. And the harder they try to climb out of it, the deeper they're getting into it. Melvin Gordon, I mean, he has had a very good career from coming from San Diego, playing in Denver the last couple of seasons. But I kind of like the attitude Denver's taking here. You fumbled so many times. How much more do we keep giving you a pass on whether you're a veteran or not? We're going to let you go. We can afford to do that. Melvin Gordon is going to get picked up somewhere. I mean, where that's going to be, I don't know. He's still a serviceable running back, especially a very good reception running back. And there are a lot of teams who could use his talents. And one of them, even though they have 2 good running backs on their squad in Jeff Wilson and Rasheed Mostert, Melvin Gordon might benefit down in Miami with the weather and the line they have there.
Being an interesting fit. I'm going to say, you know what? I know they're not in the area. You know what? No, I'll go this way. Why not just return to the Chargers and play with Eckler? Outside of Eckler, I don't know what the Chargers are running out there.
Right, because Justin Jackson left. So
Justin Jackson's left. Joshua Kelly, who they drafted out of UCLA a couple of years ago, it's been okay, sporadic, but why not? Why not reunite in LA? Or better yet, stay in LA, go to the Rams. They could use a running back. They would just waive Darrell Henderson for no reason.
You caught me a half second before I was going to say what you just said. The Rams could be a possible destination with the way they just did things there. So it would be a good fit for him, especially in that offense.
And speaking of the Rams, reported earlier, Adam Schefter, the Rams don't know if Matthew Stafford's going to play again this year. Concussion issue.
And
also a
also
little bit of a neck issue, but
yeah.
So
he is out today, and
he's out today. Bryce Perkins will make his first career start.
Yeah, I don't think they're winning that game, but we've been surprised earlier. But yeah, Stafford, and you have to think this is the right move considering the Rams' record. The Rams aren't as much as high hopes we thought Stafford was going to repeat what he did last year. You've lost Cooper Kupp. You now have your star quarterback hurt. You don't have a running game. You're 3-7 or 3-8. Sorry. It's time, let him get healthy and you build towards next season.
And I can't even say improve on that first round draft pick because that belongs to the Lions.
Right. So
I look at the Rams and I think a lot of people in the NFC as a whole had the big four. It was the Rams, it was the Packers, it was the Bucks, and I'll just stick with those three. Those were probably the popular picks to get to an NFC title game or the Super Bowl. Well, the Rams stink, the Packers stink, and the Bucks are looking to win their third straight, but I don't really necessarily buy the Bucks either right now. So it's a different looking NFC than I think most people thought it would be.
You made a comment about one team, meaning the Bucks. Thinking about them going in, I think they have, what is it, Tennessee or Cleveland today? It's one of the two.
They have Cleveland today.
They have Cleveland. And Tom Brady, we have not, last week he wasn't too bad, but I think this is a game that's really going to define whether Tom Brady is going to come back next year. Unfortunately, it's not a physical problem for him. This is a very bad mental problem for him with what his life is going through. And I don't envy it, and I don't call it an excuse. I call it life. The guy is 44, almost the guy as old as I am, for Christ's sakes. It's time to hang him up. He should have done it last year like he originally intended. Go be with your family. And it's now cost him that. It's cost him his family. And I think that's really what is wrong in Tampa Bay, not to mention various injuries to certain players.
Forget last year. He should have retired after they won the Super Bowl because he could have said, I proved it. I won without Bill Belichick. Listen, no one's ever going to dispute Tom Brady's the greatest quarterback of all time. No one can dispute that. It's now becoming the image of Tom Brady and what he is and how you feel about him. Like, I remember watching the end of Peyton Manning's career, and I know he won a Super Bowl with the Broncos at the end, but I don't want to remember him because he couldn't sling it. I want to remember Indy Peyton. Mm-hmm. That's the one I want to remember. The guy who was thrown to Marvin Harrison and Dallas Clark and Reggie Wayne. I don't want to remember Tom Brady for how he looked at the end. I want to remember him for what he was, and which was the greatest quarterback of all time.
And that's a total agreement. Just a small side note and just something you're saying. You mentioned Marvin Harrison and Peyton Manning. Wouldn't it be such a coup if Arch Manning and Marvin Harrison Jr. get drafted to the same team and they're playing together? If you don't know what I'm talking about, obviously the Manning name says it in itself. Marvin Harrison Jr. is probably the best college football player on the planet right now.
He is the
That-
best receiver in college football, and he's only a freshman.
and he's only a freshman. And his father has already said he's going to complete college. He will not allow him to draft early unless he would be the overall guaranteed number one, but had to go back and finish. That's the only way he would put it. But the requirement in the contract is he would have to finish college. And I find that admirable by his father.
I do as well. So, but my bad to Marvin Harrison Jr. because, well, Ohio State lost to Michigan yesterday in the game. But good for khaki pants Jim Harbaugh. He needed it. All right. Let's dive into some of today's games, and then we could talk about a couple of other things. Let's start in Tennessee because we get a rematch of a playoff game from last year. The Bengals come into town against the Titans. The Bengals will be down Joe Mixon. He's out with a concussion, I believe.
Correct.
And I believe Jamar Chase is not going to play, but he's really close.
Right. He is now officially listed as out for today.
He's out. Okay.
He will not play today.
But he did practice this week. So,
yeah, they're saying next week is more of a possibility for his return.
Okay. So we got the Bengals going into Tennessee. The Bengals look like they're trending right. And the Titans, I don't think anyone talks about the Titans. I think that's the way Mike Vrabel kind of likes it.
Keeping them out of the media keeps distractions out. I'm sorry, you tell me a team can't play better if you have no criticism? Come on, of course they can. So to me, that's a benefit.
Oh, it's a big benefit. It doesn't hurt also that they have the best running back on the planet, Derrick Henry, who
will probably have
speed,
something between
power. He's got the speed. He's got the power. Now he can throw a football.
I expect him to have 22 to 30 touches today, at least.
He needs it. And, Traylon Burks had a good game last week, the first round pick out of Arkansas. Maybe he's starting to come on. The defense has played well for the most part. This is a good team, and they still fly under the radar. They're going to win the AFC South again because no one in that division could get out of their own way. Talking to you, Indy. But the Titans are really good. The Bengals, look, they found a way to win in Pittsburgh last week, which was a nice win. Joe Burrow is really good, but they're the one team to me. Like, if they get into the playoffs in the AFC, I think people are going to look at them and go, I really don't want to see those guys come playoff time because of the weapons they have on offense and because of what they did last year.
Correct.
So Bengals, Titans, which really should be a primetime game, but I'll digress a little bit. It should be in prime time. It's better than the Sunday night game.
Well, we're going to jump to that right now. We're going to talk.
Let's jump there.
We're going to open it up. We're going to open it up like this. Dum, 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 dum. Go, Pack, go. It'll be the first and last time you ever hear me say that. I need the win. I need Aaron Rodgers and Christian Watson and Aaron Jones to come out and run all over Philadelphia and win this game. Now that I've taken the needle out of my arm, we'll let Mike go on with what he has to say about it.
I know our president is listening. I apologize in advance, Patch. I don't think this is going to be pretty. I think that this whole Packer season is one big mess. Tonight might be the icing on that cake because the Eagles, I think they'll dominate up front defensively. They have to me, they have one of the best corner duos in the league with Slay and Bradbury.
Yep.
Offensively, I don't know what the Packers are going to do on defense. Like, I don't think their corners are good enough to stop Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. I don't know if they're good enough to stop the zone read, which has always given the Packer defense fits. I don't know what this has to be a game where they say, Aaron, you have to go win this game. And I just don't think they have the horsepower to go win this game. And I just don't think it's going to be pretty.
I expect, when you let's face it, they're playing the 9-1 Eagles. And we saw the Eagles pull out I'm calling it what it was, a miracle win last week with the Colts, coming back with 2 touchdowns in the last 6 minutes of the game. Doing that against Indianapolis is not going to help them when they have to go up against some star-studded teams, but having a 2-game lead right now, a 1.5 lead on Dallas and a 2.5 game lead on the Giants. The Eagles don't really, I don't like to say this like this, but the Eagles don't have to worry if they lose the game. Any team has to worry if you lose a game. But this is going to be a game of, forget it, Aaron Rodgers has to throw the ball. But I think Christian Watson is going to have a monster game. 10 receptions, 109, and 2 touchdowns. I think he's going to be the surprise of the
Christian
game.
Watson gets that, that'd be huge. Not only for him, but going forward for him, because his last 2 games, he had a good game against the Titans last week, and you know what he did against the Dallas Cowboys 2 weeks ago. So
yeah,
he's starting to come on. The problem is it's the rest of it that's just not working for the Packers. And look, I'm not afraid to say they lose this game. And I've said this multiple times, but I'm going to reiterate. Season's over in Green Bay. I apologize to the city of Green Bay. You seem like nice people who wear cheese on your heads, but go watch the Bucks play in the NBA because football season's over. Sorry. So I love Aaron Rodgers, but it's over. There's no room. All right. Also in the NFC, I can't believe I'm saying this is a huge game, but it is. The Atlanta Falcons are going to Washington to play the Commanders, who are now over 500. Oh my God. I can't believe I'm saying this is a huge game in terms of the standings.
Nobody expected Washington to be anywhere where they are now. Atlanta had, the team building up, except for the quarterback, in my opinion. No offense to Marcus Mariota. Just after his time where he's been, he's just not a number 1 quarterback. I'm saying this could be an actual really good game that none of us on the East Coast are really going to be able to watch. I expect it to be a very close game. I don't think it's going to be a blowout on any way, but I hope that we see the real Scary Terry come out in this game. And really, I want to see a couple of deep bombs, 60, 65 yards to him. Even in this Michigan's weather they're going to go to, play in. I want to see Terry McLaurin have an amazing game. I like him. I think it's a good receiver.
I think he's criminally underrated because of where he plays
and
the quarterback situations he's had. I really love the way Taylor Heineke's played. I really do. And I'll be the first one to say I'm a Carson Wentz supporter. I've always been that because I never felt you should lose your job due to injury. So I understand what happened in Philly, but he's never really recovered off that great year they had. And then he got hurt in LA. He's never recovered. That being said, Taylor Heineke a couple of years ago in the playoff game against the Bucks. This is a toe-to-toe with Brady. Last year, scuffled a bit. This year, they went to Wentz. He gets hurt again, and Taylor Heineke goes out. He does what he's got to do, and he takes care of business. And it seems like the guys love playing with him. And I think that's the biggest compliment you can pay a guy is your teammates support you. They have your back. And Washington's found a way to get to 6-5, which
is admirable.
me is stunning.
Which is admirable. I mean, you have
good
to.
For Ron Rivera. Big riverboat Ron guy.
Yeah. I mean, I think the player who's improved the most since last year so far is Antonio Gibson, who's having a decent year.
Yeah, he's been great. Brian Robinson's been really good since he's come into play. The defense, they don't get Chase Young back this week. They're hoping maybe next week, but that'll only help their defense.
Right. Fortunately for the Atlanta Falcons, they received word 2 days ago that star rookie tight end Kyle Pitts will miss the rest of the season with a torn ACL. So that's actually a big loss for Atlanta.
It's a huge loss. To me, they don't use him enough anyway during games, and
why they drafted him number 4 made no sense.
We'll never know. We will never know on why they took him at 4.
Right.
I mean, you could have had Jamar Chase on the outside or Waddle, but they took Pitts.
Mm-hmm.
They also could have taken Justin Fields if they really wanted, but
they could have taken anybody.
Another conversation.
Yeah.
It's true. That's true. They could have had your boy Michael Parsons.
Will be coming. We will be putting together the woulda, shoulda, coulda SIN event.
No, I'll save the jokes for later.
Mm.
All right. Another interesting one is I think it's an interesting one. We got the Chargers and the Cardinals, who look like they'll have Kyler Murray back. They may also get Hollywood Brown back this week. So for the first time, we'll get Hollywood Brown and DeAndre Hopkins on a field at the same time.
Right. Hollywood Brown is active for today's game.
He'll be active. So
yes.
Chiefs, Cardinals, Chargers, and both. Well, the Chargers are 5-5. The Cardinals are 4-7. But
right. If you think about
a fun offensive game.
Well, if you think about the receivers that are in Arizona right now, you go right across the board. You got DeAndre, you got AJ Green, you got Robbie Anderson, you got Rondale Moore. I mean, you don't need a running back when you have the talent at wide receiver there. And now you obviously have Hollywood Brown. You have 5 competent wide receivers. And I think the one who's going to get lost in the mix and is going to end up getting let down is Robbie Anderson. I think he will be let go in the coming weeks.
Nah, he's probably done after this year. Anyway, I think he's a free agent after the year anyway, because Carolina just dumped him after his whole beef with the coach. But this is a game for me. If you're the Chargers, you got to win this game. You got to find a way. If you're the Los Angeles Chargers, you're 5-5. You're kind of teetering on, are they good enough? Are they not good enough? And you look at some of their other games this year that they could have won or they should have won, and they've lost a lot of one possession games. But after this game, which is very winnable, they play the Raiders. Then they play the Titans, the Colts, the Rams, and the Broncos to finish out the year. So if the Chargers want to make the playoffs, this is a game where they have to say, you know what, Justin, Eckler, whoever, we need to find a way, because you lose this game, all of a sudden now instead of 6-5, you're 5-6, and the tiebreakers come into play, and it's gonna be tough. And I don't want to get started on the Cardinals because I'm done with Clifford, the big red bird. I am that they're 4-7, and you gave unwarranted extensions to both the coach and the quarterback, and I can't. The Cardinals deserve to be 4-7. They deserve this.
Yeah,
That's all I'm going to say.
they put themselves in that position, and that's it.
The only person I feel bad for is J.J. Watt. Feel for you, J.J.
Wow.
So
Now, a little
right,
topic that I had on this rundown. It's very small, and don't want to get into it until there's finalists. The Hall of Fame semifinalist list came out.
Mm-hmm.
There's only one person on that list. Mind you, there are Cowboys on the list that I would love to see get in. There's only one person on that list who better be put in, and that's Devin Hester. I'm sorry. Enough is enough. I know we're going through our rundown, but I wanted to just talk this.
No. Let's talk about it.
Devin Hester did things on the field as a punt returner, sometimes as a receiver, even as a jet sweep running back. He was like Barry Sanders. He was untouchable. His vision on the field was uncanny. I think he holds the records for most kickoff/punt returns in the NFL currently. Put him in, and you rarely will hear me really go all out for a player who's not a Cowboy.
Devin Hester was the most electric return man in my lifetime. He arguably one of the most electric players in my lifetime. I agree with you. Because if you're the best at what you do, and he was the best return man, he should be in the Hall of Fame. Now, likewise, I'm just looking over the list now on NFL.com. Torrey Holt. Give me Torrey Holt to the Hall of Fame. If you're going to put Isaac Bruce in, and Isaac Bruce is was worthy as well, Torrey Holt is also worthy. That was the Rams offense in the late 90s into the early 2000s was so much fun to watch with Kurt Warner, Marshall Faulk, Torrey Holt, Isaac Bruce. Oh, you name it. They were awesome. They were fun to watch. They were like kind of like the Chiefs offense of the past number of years, except they were on turf. So Torrey Holt should get in. I'll bang the drum on Zach Thomas too as a former Dolphin.
He was a damn good linebacker. Darren Woodson is my push for Dallas this year. He was one of the best free safeties in football during his time, and a 3-time Super Bowl winner. So bring Darren Woodson in as well. There's my lobby for my Cowboy.
Yeah, look, there's a good number. Dwight Freeney's on this list. I think you can make a case for. DeMarcus
Ware.
James Harrison's in, but is on this list. I'm not sure if he's a Hall of Famer. He was a really
one
good
day
player,
he will be, but
I don't
his
know
problems
if he was a Hall of Famer.
He will be one day, but I think his problems with the commissioner on and off, I think it's going to hold him out.
Yeah. Patrick Willis is on this list. He for sure should get in. Darrelle Revis is on the list for the first
Revis
time.
Island.
Talking about shutdown corner. Andre Johnson, Texans legend. Jared Allen. Reggie Wayne. There are good names on this list of 28.
Right. And I
believe
it
Barber, but I don't know if he's a Hall of Famer. Really good player. I don't know if he's a Hall of Famer. Hines Ward is on the list.
Hines Ward deserves to get in
And
just on his name alone. They tore down Heinz Field. Let's put the Heinz in
dude,
the Hall of
they
Fame.
named it Heinz Field after Heinz Ward. Like everyone knows it. Screw the ketchup. It was
Ketchup,
named after
right?
Heinz Ward.
Heinz Ward deserves to be in.
Oh, yeah. So list of 20. I believe the finalists are revealed right before the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
They all announce who gets in. So keep your eyes out for that over the next really 3 months, because in 3 months' time, the Super Bowl's coming.
Mm.
Who knew? One other thing I wanted to talk about, because we're heading into the stretch run here. We're in the week 11, 18-week season, but realistically, we know sometimes those last couple of weeks, seeding purposes, a lot of teams are out, and we kind of have a feel for what's going to happen in the offseason. So I think we should talk about coaches and players really quick who maybe they need a good stretch run in order to save face here and keep or at least know that they're not on a hot seat. So I go ahead.
Oh, my first coach, and I'm gonna say it because he's been the biggest talk, is Mike McCarthy. I think Mike McCarthy's out. Let me put it to you this way. Either way, I don't think he's going to, even if Dallas wins the Super Bowl. I have a strong feeling that Sean Payton's already set up to be the quarterback and the coach in Dallas. So
see, my feeling on McCarthy's always been he has to get to the NFC title game.
So I mean that's just one coach of many. Obviously, what Dabo's done in New York, he's going to be fine. He's done an excellent job. It's really kind of hard to think about what coach. I mean, we could talk in Green Bay with the way it's fallen off. You know, Aaron Rodgers deserves what he has, but Aaron Rodgers is another one. I think is if he does not get the Packers to the playoffs, will they outright release him?
I think they'll trade him. I really do.
And speaking of where he'll go, welcome, Vice President Danny Boy Reginald.
Sorry, that's party. I just came in with
what's up, Dan?
They're ending so I was like, yeah, let's go in. And you're still talking Aaron Rodgers, who is having a terrible season.
So the topic was, because I created this, we're talking stretch run coaches and players who may be on a hot seat. That's why Aaron Rodgers' name came up. So
but I don't know if he leaves because it's going to be because of him wanting to leave, not because the Packers wanted to leave.
Well, I think at some point the M word's going to come in. It's mutual.
Yeah.
So that's a good one. Brandon Staley for me is one that I would totally look at, because the Chargers are too talented to be missing the playoffs year after year after year. I mean, Herbert, at times, I don't think he wants to sit on the couch eating sherbet during the playoffs. I really just don't think he wants to do that.
You have to think Matty Ice.
I'm just thinking that's retirement at this point.
I mean,
like that's retirement. I love Matt Ryan, but at some point, it's retirement. Dennis Allen for me, like I know it's 1 year, but the Saints have struggled mightily. And you brought up the name before, like I wonder if they say to Sean Payton, like they come crawling back, like, would you come back, Sean? Please come back. We'll let you pick whatever quarterback you want to come back. So I wonder if that would work.
And then you have to have a real worry of what's going to go on. I mean, we discussed it earlier. you have to have a real worry what's going to be going on with the Jets because of situations at quarterback.
Zach Wilson.
We
got Dan here. We can
ask Dan here.
His feelings.
Yeah.
First of all, I think the smear campaign with Zach Wilson has been a bit too much. Yes, his play on the field was awful. Yes, his words after the game during the Jet presser was bad too. And we can criticize him on that. But to have an absolute smear campaign to pretty much make this guy look like a terrible human being, the worst player in the NFL, which he's not, and then, to follow that up with not dressing him, to me, it was a little too much, way too much to do. Bench him, yes, because he was bad, and Mike White probably gives you the best chance to win, but don't make him out to be as if some bad guy or terrible player, because he's not. He's just not ready to be a big-time quarterback yet. And for the Jets to allow that to happen, to allow this smear campaign, which started with Connor Hughes from SNY, and I'm going to call him out on it because it's true, to allow that to carry over and influence that decision, to me, was a bit much. And let's be real here. The players in the locker room, that they fed off of that. They're like, see what the media is saying? You see, we need to change quarterback now because we're a win-now team. He's not a win-now quarterback. So that's just me. Of course, like I said, Zach Wilson needs to be benched because he was not playing well. We need to see Mike White. We need to see what we can get out of him. We only got 3 starts out of him in his entire Jet tenure. We need to see more out of him and see what he can give us, because you never know. And I'm glad that Robert Saleh is committed to winning. But let's be real here. If Mike White stinks and they lose, the Jets have a major quarterback issue, because Joe Flacco ain't it. We saw him 3 games with a less banged up Jet team, and the Jets almost went 0-3. Zach Wilson, we know, is not ready to be a big-time quarterback in this league. If Mike White stinks up the joint, the Jets are in major trouble quarterback-wise, and probably is going to be a big factor in the offseason.
Hello, Jimmy Garoppolo.
If he wants to come here. I mean, I don't know if he wants it.
Well, I mean, for me, he'd be the perfect guy just because he knows the system.
Well, he knows Saleh. He knows
San Francisco.
Yeah, it's not quite the same system, but it's similar because LaFleur was the passing game guy and Saleh was the defensive coordinator. So, yeah, you're coming from the same ideas, same sort of team background of wants and needs and all that stuff. Let's see. I mean, I think it would be a great pickup for the Jets, but it's whether he wants to come. He's comfy in San Francisco. I don't know why you get rid of him.
Well, the best thing they ever did was not trade again, because that's worked out so well for him.
Yeah, no.
But he is a free agent after the year, after reworking some of his deal. So,
yeah.
But, who knows what the future holds for the offseason? We don't even know what the future holds for today. So we got a pretty good slate of games.
It's going to be a good day of football, but I think
Should be.
The East Coast is going to cause some big problems.
And then next week we got a really good slate as well.
And I expect the Sunday night game gets changed.
Next Sunday night is Dallas,
Indianapolis. There are other games on that slate.
Hold on. One jumps off the peg right away. Deshaun Watson's return to Houston.
Exactly.
That Chiefs Bengals could be flexed into Sunday night.
Right.
Titans Eagles, which that
I mean there are
I didn't know that was a thing until now.
And then we have one other topic we have not discussed. One last topic. Since we are at it, and it is now time, there is a free agent who is going to be signing, I would say, within the next week, week and a half. And he's going to one of two teams. He's either going to the Dallas Cowboys. Actually, I'm going to throw another team in the mix, actually. He's going to the Dallas Cowboys. He's going to go home to the Giants, or he's going to the Buffalo Bills. And we're talking about Odell Beckham Jr. Mind you, yes, he's still coming off that ACL tear from the Super Bowl. My hope is, yes, I would love the player he is in Dallas because they need another receiver, in my opinion. That would be great. But this guy's going to hold two records if he comes to Dallas. He's going to hold the best catch against the team ever, and he's going to own the best catch for the team ever. But I see him coming to Dallas next week.
See, we had this conversation on Wishbone this week. By the way, you listen, Anchor, Google, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. I think there's a real case to be made for the New York Giants. Mainly, here's the one. They need receivers. Regardless of who it is. Right now, it's Darius Slayton, Richie James, and
who had a nice catch.
3 playing receiver.
Yeah. Richie James had a nice catch in that game.
Yeah, so I think the Giants need him more. I think the question's going to be is who can make him the best offer. Like the Cowboys are probably the most. Actually, I'm not even going to say that because you got the Bills in there also. Cowboys and Bills are right now in the win now mode. The Giants, even at 7-4, as well as they've played, I think they've played a bit over their heads. But the Giant fan base could use this. So I'm going to stick with the Giants and say he goes back to the Giants. Maybe that can help lure Saquon to come back. And maybe that lures a really good quarterback to come over as well because Daniel Jones isn't the answer.
Right. Also, just because we're here and last night was a great night, if you all want to watch an amazing, fun holiday movie, head over to HBO Max and watch Holiday Harmony. It was a great
Holiday
movie.
Harmony?
Yes, it was. I am not a big Christmas movie guy, but this one even warmed my heart. And I'm doing this because Dan is here. Dan, want to tell everybody why you're so happy about that name?
So I'm thrilled. This is Mike Rifkin, in case you haven't figured it out. The star of the movie, she looks exactly like me. She's my cousin. Annalisa Perro, shout out to you. You are an incredible, amazing person. No, she starred in a movie, in a Christmas movie, HBO Max. It's trending now on the platform, and it was a stellar film. It was
excellent.
It was really cool.
She has she has a great singing voice.
Oh yeah, she always has. Yeah. She used to do musicals. Like she was in theater and musicals and all that stuff. So
it shows.
She has it. Yeah. So this was it's not her debut because she was in West Side Story too.
That was a good film. I saw West Side Story.
But I think this is like one of her first starring lead roles, which is it's really emotional for me because I used to watch her grow up and talk about her dreams about being in Hollywood and stuff, and here she is killing it. So it was pretty dope. It was pretty dope to watch. HBO Max. I'm not going to tell you the price of HBO Max. We get in trouble, right? We're good.
HBO Max, not a sponsor.
Quote Patchy. Quote.
Holiday Harmony. Brooke Shields is in it too.
Yes.
Remy Sumter's in it too. Both are terrific actors. Please watch it and enjoy it. It's a really good, fun-filled holiday film.
All right, for promoting films, everyone to go watch the Weird Al film.
Oh, it was
Daniel
excellent.
Radcliffe was amazing as Weird
Yes, he
Al.
was.
Don't need to watch it, Rifkin.
It was fantastic.
It really was.
I'm still on the campaign for Weird Al to perform a Super Bowl halftime show.
Oh, I've been wanting that since day one.
Yeah, so. All right. Movie talk is over.
Yes.
You know what? Maybe we'll start ending the shows
With
with
movie
movies we
suggestions.
have to watch.
There we go. We can do that.
Oh. And from Mark Goldowski, Halpert, and Danny Boy, Reginald Dan Rhines, I'm Mike Griffin. Thank you for listening to SIN Sunday Sideline Report. Check us out every week. Check us out social medias. Check out the podcast, Google, Anchor, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Check out the website, www.thesportsinsanitynetwork.com, for all great content, blogs, vlogs, planes, trains, and automobiles, which I hope everyone watched over Thanksgiving weekend at one point. And until next week, have a great weekend. Enjoy the football, and namaste.
Namaste.